Hi, my name is Belle Singh, and I'm one of the Policy and Workforce Planning Officers at Jobs Queensland. I'm here today to talk to you about our Anticipating Future Skills series, or AFS as we like to call it. We'll spend most of our time looking at the Data Portal and Data Explorer that are published annually as part of our product. Before we look at these, I wanted to briefly talk to you about the classification systems that our projections are based on. The Australian Bureau of Statistics, or ABS, is responsible for both ANZIC and ANZCO. ANZCO, the Australia and New Zealand Standard Classification of Occupations, helps you to understand how many occupations there are, what an occupation actually does, and what sort of education might be needed for that occupation. ANZIC, the Australia and New Zealand Standard Industry Classification, helps you to understand what types of industries there are in Australia and what types of activities each industry does. There are 19 industry divisions under ANZIC, and you'll see these as we navigate through the AFS portal. AFS Series 5 shows it projections of employment out to 2025-26, which will help you to identify future growth in different occupations and industries across the state or in different regions. We're in the final stages of updating our data for Series 6, which will be released later this year. I will just share my screen now so that we can jump onto the website and I can show you how to navigate to our portal. So the first thing you will need to do is go to the Jobs Queensland homepage, which is jobsqueensland.queensland.gov.au. From here, you'll go to the Anticipating Future Skills in the drop-down menu. This will bring you to the landing page for the product. And you can see here that we've got quite a range of resources for you to have a look through. We've got the portal and the Explorer that we will look at today, but you can also look at region profiles, industry profiles, our statewide overview, previous reports, and you can also go deeper behind the modelling to understand how our projections are put together. We've also provided some useful links for anyone curious to understand more and some frequently asked questions. At the end of the session today, I will give you an email address to contact if you do have any questions or need any help navigating the portal. All right, let's get into it. This is our data portal, which was developed in consultation with users to make it as user-friendly and interactive as possible. So this is publicly available on our website. Anyone can come and have a look and navigate and see what Jobs of the Future will be doing for each series. So the landing page shows you a quick snapshot of the top 5 employment for regions, occupations, industries, and qualification fields. For example, you can see here that management and commerce will have the largest employment up to 2025-26 with 45,395 new jobs. And over here, Brisbane will have 74,831 new jobs by 2025-26. The map on the left-hand side is interactive, so you can click on it and it will filter the results. So here we've selected Far North, and you can see that for the Far North, professionals will be the biggest group employed with 261 new jobs by 2025-26, and public administration and safety will be the biggest employer with 137 new jobs by 2025-26. So this is based on our baseline data, which assumes that the world will carry on, or Queensland will carry on business as usual. We also offer projections based on 3 scenarios that you can interrogate further to understand the impacts of each of these. We have these tooltips here. When you hover over them, they will drop down to explain what particular field you might be looking at. So this one here outlines our 3 scenarios: digitalization post-COVID, a changing skills profile, and global headwinds. You can read more about those when you do come in to look at the portal for yourself. All right, let's jump across to the Occupations tab. So when you are wanting to dig into some of the data, the first thing you will do up here is look at the particular occupation you're interested in. So these drop-down lists start at the broadest level, and then you open them up to drill down into more detail. So let's pick professionals, and we want to know about photographers. So you can see down here that all of the graphs have changed, and you can view the graphs by size or by change percent. So here you can see that there will be 3,030 photographers employed by 2025-26. And if you click on change, that is the 13.2% growth rate for that occupation. When you come over to the next one, you can see that they are predominantly employed in professional, scientific, and technical services, and 34.3% have a bachelor's degree. If you want to drill down even further and look at photographers in Central Queensland, you pick the region from here. These are based on statistical area level 4 structure, with the exception of Queensland Outback, which we have disaggregated into the SA3 components because each is so wildly different. And Brisbane has been aggregated into one because they all share the same labour market. So we've selected Central Queensland, and if we come back down here, you can see that 108 new photographers will be working in Central Queensland by 2025-26. And again, the majority will be employed in professional, scientific, and technical services. You can, with these results, let me just jump up here and clear all. These results go down to the lowest level for ANZCO, so you can go right down to the unit level, which you can see the list here is quite detailed: kitchen hands, store persons, accountants. You can then aggregate up to the minor level: sales assistants and sales workers, school teachers, general clerks. Then you can come up another level to sub-major, and then up again to major. And you can see here that professionals will be the biggest group employed across Queensland by 2025-26. For ANZIC, the highest level, is division here, but you could drill further into subdivision, and you can see it gets very, very detailed, and you can drill down again to group. If you want to look at something like this that does contain a lot of information, you can pop it out in focus mode, and then this allows you to see in more detail. You can also hover over each of the fields, and it will bring up the values for that field. So you can see here there's a decline in clubs hospitality of 9.3%. So, and once you've finished in focus mode, you just go back to come back to this page here. Next, we will come across to industries. And one important thing to note is whatever selections you make up here will carry across most of these tabs as you work through them. So it's important to clear all unless you are wanting to compare like with like as you work your way across. So for industries, it works very similarly to the occupations tab. Down here, you can see selected industry employment. This starts at the lowest level, and then you can aggregate up to subdivision and division. And this shows you that healthcare and social assistance will be the largest employer in Queensland with nearly 500,000 people and a growth rate of 16.4%. If you look at change percent, you can see it is still the fastest growing industry. When you come across to occupations, let's go size. This again goes down to unit level, and you can aggregate up as you need to for your results. So if we go up to professionals, and let's pick an occupation this time. Actually, let's pick an industry. Construction. So this shows you that in construction, there's over 250,000 people projected to be employed by 2025-26, growing slightly slower than the overall rate of 7.6 for Queensland. And most will be technicians and trades workers. So now I'll show you how these selections can flow across to the next tab. So let's jump into regions. So you can see that the selection here for industry has carried across, and for the purposes of this exercise, we'll leave it there. So this is the same map as the front page. It is interactive again, so you can click to select your region. And when I mentioned earlier that Outback Queensland, we have disaggregated into 3. That is Far North, Outback North, and Outback South. And the reason we did this is the types of industries in each part of those states is so wildly different. To put them all together doesn't give the most accurate projections for our series. So let's look at an example for regions. Let's see what's happening in Ipswich for education and training. Now it'll have a little think about that. Might just give it a refresh. And come back across to regions. All right, back in Ipswich. So you can see here the total number of people projected to be employed, carrying the same trend as the state that healthcare and social assistance will be the largest employer. You can also see here on each of these pages, the Queensland employment rates are displayed at the bottom, and then the selections you've made will be recalculated up here. This allows you to give a quick comparison of state overall versus the particulars that you're looking at. Next, we will move into our qualification levels and qualifications fields tabs. So we'll clear our selection for Ipswich. And for the state overall, you can see that no post-school is the highest, the biggest qualification level projected to be employed by 2025-26, followed by Cert 3 and 4, with Cert 1 and 2 being the smallest. And then if you come across here, you can see that Sales Assistants General for the selected qualification level by occupation. And then jumping another one across, you can see here that for each qualification level, you can have a look at how the qualification fields are broken up. And these are quite broad. So for Certificate 1 and 2, the majority will be in management and commerce. And then let's look at postgraduate. Health represents about 45,000 people, management and commerce about 84,000 people. The next tab is quite similar, except this time we're looking at qualification field, not qualification level. So let's pick a region again. They're all hands. You can see here that it's quite closely mirrors what's happening with the state in terms of no post-school being the largest group of people employed. And then, yep, again, follows the same or similar trends down here. And then coming across to qualification field by qualification level. For creative arts, most will be a bachelor degree level qualification. For engineering, Certificate 3 and 4 represents 66.47% of the qualifications. Next, we have replacement occupation. So replacement occupation is the people needed to replace anyone who is retiring or permanently leaving their occupation. So this, with the new growth put together, is the total new jobs for Queensland. And net new jobs is the growth minus any that decline, and that's how many are left to be employed for that particular occupation. So let's have a look at managers, chief executives. So you can see here, by the end of the projection period, for CEOs, general managers, and legislators, there will be 4,434 total new jobs. and 1,538 replacements. So that's people that have or will retire or permanently leave their occupation, which gives us a total of 5,972 job openings for new entrants. Now, unfortunately, replacement occupation and replacement industry can't be filtered by region. So you can look at them by occupation and by scenario, unfortunately, not by region. And then if we look at replacement industry, that also gives you similar information. So if you look here, you can see for healthcare and social assistance, there will be 68,586 new jobs, 25,377 replacement jobs, for a total of 93,963. And these are, as you can see, at the highest level of division, but you can drill down into subdivision and into group. And then the more granular you get, the more the results will kind of shift. So the biggest will change. So for this one, cafes, restaurants, and takeaway food services will have the most job openings by 2025-26. And that is our data portal. Now we will look at our data explorer. This is not quite as groovy looking as our portal. This is handy though if you want to do some straightforward comparison of region versus region, region versus state, or industry versus industry. So your selection is done up here. So you'll pick your first either occupation, industry, region, year, or scenario against a second. So let's pick carers and aides in all industries, but let's look at what happens under scenario 3, which is global headwinds. And now let's compare that to the baseline scenario. So you can see here that under scenario 3, which is the impacts of what's happening globally on the Queensland labour market, has only had a very minor impact on projections for carers and aides. And that would be partially as a result of our ageing population and the big growth that is projected for healthcare and social assistance. And if you scroll down here, you can see employment over time by each of the scenarios. So for scenario 3, you can see there is a dip, 2023-24, and then it comes back in line with the rest, and the same over here. And then those selections will carry across to the occupations tab. So you can see here that for scenario 3, the majority will be employed as aged and disabled carers, which is the same for our baseline scenario. And it looks, it looks like it's similar across both. And for industries, let's have a look. Most will be employed in healthcare and social assistance under both education and training, public administration and safety. And then you can look here at the information in a table format. So you can see here for each year what the projections are. And then we have a regions tab, which will show you where the growth will happen. So you can see that, again, it's quite similar across both scenarios. And Brisbane will employ the most carers and aides by the end of the projection period. All right, that is our Data Explorer and Data Portal. I hope you enjoy playing around in the portal. Thank you for taking the time to go through the information with me today. Now, one more thing before I go. If you do want to send us any queries, please use the Contact Us option on our website, which is here under About Us. So info@jobsqueensland.queensland.gov.au. And don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. Thank you again for your time.